At one point, Justin Bieber was the biggest artist in the world. He sold out arenas, dropped multiple hit songs, and carried every teenage girl's heart in the palm of his hand. But behind all that success, something terrible was taking place behind the scenes. From countless arrests,
$1,000 resisting without violence, $1,000 for the DUI,
to dark scandals,
starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Justin Bieber's massive fame came with a brutal price to his well-being, and eventually, even to his career. So how did this happen, why, and where is he now? I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is the tragic downfall of Justin Bieber. Well, to understand that, we have to go back to the very beginning. From a young age, Justin Bieber was already poised to become a star. As a child, he quickly learned to play the piano, drums, and trumpet. Unfortunately, his passion for music took an incredible turn when his mother posted a video of him singing on YouTube. This clip went viral, and while launching careers online is common today, back then it was groundbreaking. And this early exposure catapulted Justin to be a star. Shortly after, Scooter Braun, a well-known American music talent manager, discovered him. Scooter invited him to perform in front of Usher, and soon after, Justin was signed to their joint record label, RBMG Records. His songs quickly took off, and he built a massive fan base in no time. However, this kind of rapid rise also came with huge challenges. You see, as Justin's fame grew, he soon found himself facing uncomfortable and inappropriate behavior, particularly from adults in the industry, marking the beginning of a troubling pattern of harassment that would shadow his early career. You see, even as a teen star, Bieber had to endure countless cases of harassment. Don't believe me? Just take a look at this very awkward interview with James Corden.
This is your first Brit Awards. Are you enjoying it?
It is. It's my first time here. I'm really excited. So many people are so nice here, and I'm excited.
Here, you can clearly see that Bieber felt uncomfortable as James got closer and closer to Bieber.
Can I say this? Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
If that wasn't enough, just take a look at Justin's reaction when James further complimented him.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes.
However, James wasn't done just yet. See, he'd even upped his antics as he touched Justin's face, stating,
"Thank you so much. Look at him. Look at what a beautiful face." All right, now it's time to find out who's nominated for International Breakthrough. Vote, just do it. Don't mess around. Don't tease me, Bieber.
During that time, Justin had become a worldwide sensation, and everyone wanted to get their hands on Bieber, literally. In fact, even superstars like Katy Perry couldn't help herself when she met Justin.
What? Just do that forever. Shut up.
And what's even wilder in this clip was that you could see Katy mouthing, "Sorry, Selena," as she touched Justin's behind. Justin didn't really help his own case, as he jokingly replied, "We could do that forever if you want," which led people to believe that he was okay with this kind of behavior. But if you think that the touching stopped there, just take a look at what happened next. You see, for some reason, older women had a thing for Justin Bieber, and it showed again when he appeared as a guest on the Talk TV show. Because while he was happy when Katy was doing the touching, he didn't seem so delighted when one of the co-hosts kept forcing him to touch his face.
I will squeeze your face. No, I will. No.
But as if the awkward face touching wasn't enough, she would then ask Justin a much weirder question.
Would you rather have to be naked on stage during one full song, or drink a cup of blended worms?
I mean, what kind of question is that? That's not something you ask a teenager, right? And she knew that.
Imagine it wasn't like weird like that.
I wouldn't do either.
However, that didn't stop her from pressing him about it.
Answer Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't go.
Okay, imagine.
She was lucky that cancel culture wasn't a thing back then, because this could have easily derailed her career.
Like
I will grab your face.
Unfortunately for Justin, as the years progressed, people began to feel weirdly comfortable not just with touching him, but also with talking about explicit topics with young men. Things got even stranger when radio host Shannon Murphy brought up inappropriate subjects in their interview.
Has your mom given you a sex yet? I mean, like, I really don't want to have that conversation with my mother. Yeah. Like I've kind of had it with my father. You want to hear?
But that wasn't even the worst part. Just listen to what she had to say next.
You want to hear? Oh, really? See, my parents never gave me this. Okay. So why don't you give me the sex? I feel uncomfortable right now. Oh. Why do you want to know the sex from a 15-year-old boy? That's pretty weird.
And that still wasn't her wildest take. In fact, she'd even make it more awkward when she said,
"Oh my gosh, he's kissing me. Here, come sit here. Come sit with me right here." Dude, Justin Bieber just like comes up and you just started making out with me. Do you know that?
I know I did. Is that not appropriate?
Unfortunately, this is just the type of harassment that Justin Bieber had to endure over the course of his career. And sadly, it wasn't just the beginning. You see, what many fans consider one of the most disturbing things Justin had to experience happened at the 2012 American Music Awards. A night that was supposed to be a celebration turned into a much darker event. Because as Justin was about to accept his trophy for winning the best pop/rock album, one of the presenters did this. Out of nowhere, Jenny McCarthy decided to give a sloppy one to Justin's neck. However, you can even see in Justin's face that he felt violated. But here's the thing, backstage, instead of feeling remorse, she said this.
Great, I just got to neck Justin Bieber and grab his butt.
I saw that you totally, it was like a full-on almost makeout session.
A little cougar scary.
And when asked about why she did it, she simply said,
I couldn't help it. He was just so delicious. So little, just I wanted to take his head off and eat it. But I took the opportunity in the window, considering I'll never get to do it again, and kind of molested him.
You see, she was actually proud of how she treated him on stage, and she even fantasized about dating him.
Imagine how hilarious that would be. That would be the cougar score of the century. Jenny McCarthy dates Justin Bieber.
Would you?
I want some Bieber fever, and I want a Bieber rash.
I want it all.
And to make things even worse, she'd call about it.
I did grab his butt. I'm single, but I think that's cougar rape.
At that point, you have to ask, how did she survive without repercussions? As she literally described what she did as something illegal. And on top of that, she kept bragging about it not just backstage, but even online. Tweeting, @PerezHilton, my Thanksgiving, describing to my nieces over and over again what Justin Bieber tastes like. However, as she showed no regard for the severity of her actions, fans were deeply disgusted by what happened. For instance, one user commented, "This infuriates me. He just got assaulted in front of the world and nobody cared. Poor Justin. The signs were in plain sight since the beginning, and everyone turned a blind eye." I'm sure this happened to him a lot. Unfortunately, as we do this deep dive on Bieber's career, it looks like the harassment started at a very young age. You see, at just 15 years old, Justin Bieber came across one of the most controversial figures in hip-hop, Sean Diddy Combs. You see, as Justin Bieber's career continued to skyrocket, one of the most problematic relationships he ever formed was with the diddler himself. And what started as an innocent mentorship eventually became one of the most disturbing chapters of Justin's life. So what exactly happened? Well, it all began in 2009 when Usher and Justin Bieber were introduced to each other. Usher, who was also one of the artists Diddy was mentoring at the time, wanted Bieber to be an apprentice as well. However, what fans found weird was that Usher himself said that if he had a child, he'd never let him go near Puffy.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
So even he was skeptical about Diddy.
We're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Unfortunately though, Justin wasn't his son, and he didn't bother stopping this disturbing relationship. You see, despite a staggering 24-year age difference, the two quickly formed a close bond. But a 40-year-old grown man hanging out with a 15-year-old? That's more than suspicious. However, Usher wasn't really the one to blame here, since back in 2009, Justin would personally contact Diddy on Twitter. "Have a song I produced for @IamDiddy. Everyone tell him he needs to let me do something for his album. That would be crazy. Get at me, Diddy. Haha." Sadly, Bieber had no clue what he was getting into. In one infamous clip, Diddy and Bieber decided to hang out for 2 days straight.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, where we hanging out and what we doing.
Knowing what we know now, it's very disturbing to imagine what could have happened in those 48 hours. See, they first linked up because Justin wanted to collab, but they didn't really record any tracks together, at least not yet. So what exactly did they do? Well, according to Diddy,
we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher. I'm signed to Usher.
Now, that just added more suspicion on the nature of the relationship.
I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
Going crazy.
Crazy.
In the video, the diddler also showcased the wild items Bieber could have. For instance, Diddy teased Justin about a silver Lamborghini that he'd gift him.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this will be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but front shot.
And as a 15-year-old, you'd be hyped about it too.
Man. Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down there, you gotta, wear your seat.
However, that wasn't the only thing Justin was gonna get, because according to Diddy,
when you get 18, you get the house, you get the mansion.
Okay, I get the mansion.
Yeah.
And while no concrete evidence has ever emerged, the speculation only intensified when in 2024, Diddy faced a wave of horrifying charges ranging from assault to trafficking. And with a video like that, the situation felt much darker. You see, their dynamic only got stranger. On live TV in 2011, Bieber himself recalled how Diddy promised him luxurious gifts. Justin openly shared this on Jimmy Kimmel Live, seemingly unaware of how bizarre this arrangement sounded to the world. Diddy, visibly caught off guard, scolded Justin on air.
When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
So what exactly were those things? Why was Diddy, who's more than twice Bieber's age, offering cars, houses, and mystery weekends to a teenage boy? And possibly more importantly, where was Justin's guardians during all this? In another resurfaced clip, Diddy was seen pressuring Justin on camera about why he hadn't been keeping in touch. He complained,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Visibly uncomfortable, Justin felt cornered, so he tried to explain himself.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
And just to stop the diddler from harassing him, he decided to give Diddy a fake number.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 55.
Unfortunately, even if Justin Bieber was starting to distance himself from Diddy, he just couldn't escape the pattern. You see, even after Bieber turned 21, he was spotted drinking with Diddy in videos. In fact, Diddy was present when Justin first tried tequila.
Justin Bieber's first shot ever. Do not believe anything.
On top of that, Diddy would also attend Bieber's birthday parties in both 2014 and 2015, further confusing fans about their relationship. However, what confused people even more came in 2023, when Justin and Diddy dropped a collab song together called Moments. Justin even posted about it on his Instagram story, writing, "I remember going to my brother Diddy's office to pitch him a song I wrote for him when I was 14. Fast forward to a few years ago, Puff asked if I would freestyle something for his upcoming Love album. Wild full circle moment, love you at Diddy." But the timing couldn't have been worse. By November of 2023, Diddy's ex-partner, Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit accusing him of abuse and trafficking. After a leaked video allegedly showing Diddy assaulting Cassie surfaced, more victims stepped forward. And by September of 2024, Diddy was arrested and over 100 others, some minors, joined lawsuits against him. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed that Justin was so disturbed by the revelations surrounding his old friend that he completely distanced himself from the situation. In fact, reports say that Justin Bieber is refusing to address any of the controversies publicly. And by early 2020, Bieber started to become more vocal about the trauma he endured in the industry. But even without dropping names, many fans believe that Diddy played a massive role in his trauma. In an emotional interview with Apple Music, he spoke about these challenges.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they loved me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Additionally, he discussed his eagerness to protect his friends, who are up-and-coming artists, from the industry's evil.
I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
These were words of a man who had been through a lot. And with that kind of a traumatic experience, it's really not surprising that Justin's behavior changed. Now, while Justin's relationship with Diddy raised eyebrows, it was his first love that really had the world talking. When people talk about Justin Bieber's downfall, it's impossible to ignore one of the most infamous chapters of his early career, his wild relationship with Selena Gomez. Justin and Selena first went public with their relationship in 2010. At the time, it seemed like the perfect match. While Justin's boundaries were constantly crossed in deeply unsettling ways, Selena wasn't physically exploited in the same sense. But make no mistake, she was overworked, criticized, and used by the industry in many of the same ways. However, it was their shared experience of the pressure of being teen stars that initially drew them together.
I'm all about really genuine people, and I feel like she's one of the most genuine people. She just has a good heart, and I can talk to her about anything.
Justin once said in an interview, "For fans, it felt like a real-life Disney movie."
What is his favorite feature that you love about Justin?
His eyes.
The chemistry was undeniable, and for a moment, it felt like maybe, just maybe, this relationship could actually beat the odds. But behind the red carpet appearances and Instagram posts, their relationship was anything but perfect. By early 2011, the two had finally confirmed what everyone suspected. They made their red carpet debut at the Vanity Fair Oscar party in February, and fans immediately dubbed them Jelena. And for a while, they were inseparable. They were traveling together, posting adorable photos, and publicly gushing over each other.
Justin, are you gonna propose to Selena Gomez? You guys make a really good couple. I see that smile.
Unfortunately, things weren't as picture perfect as they appeared. By November of 2012, the relationship had officially hit its first major roadblock as they decided to break up for the first time. According to reports, one of their main problems was a lack of trust and their hectic schedules. However, they just couldn't keep their hands off each other. You see, if there's one thing to defend about Justin and Selena's relationship, it was their inability to stay away from each other. After all, they'd been side by side for almost a decade. However, back in 2013, just a year after their breakup, the couple was spotted hanging together again. Justin even posted a now famous Instagram photo of them together, captioned, "You've been making music for too long, babe, come cuddle," sending Jelena fans into a frenzy. Unfortunately, things would get complicated again the following year, because just a year after they reconciled, the relationship took a dramatic turn when rumors spread that Kylie Jenner was flirting with Justin. At the time, Selena, Kylie, and Kendall were seen hanging out at Coachella together, posting photos and looking like friends. But shortly after the festival, Selena shocked the world when she unfollowed both the Jenner sisters on Instagram. A source told US Weekly that Selena felt Kylie was flirting with Justin. It got messy. Selena said the Jenner girls were flirting with Justin and his crew. She was pissed and overreacted. So, was Selena just a paranoid Latina, or was she in the right to suspect the two of having an affair? Either way, Selena and Kylie were able to patch things up really quickly. Selena has no issues with the Jenner girls. They had an issue, but they have cleared it up. She has always liked the Jenner girls. They had been fans of Selena since they were young. But while the feud died down, another problem was brewing. Because just months later, Justin was spotted out at a dinner with Kendall Jenner and Hailey Baldwin. Now, even though Justin and Selena were technically on a break at this time, this would have serious implications in the future. You see, Justin and Hailey initially met back in 2009, but this dinner marked the start of a real friendship between them. And for Justin, who was deep in depression at the time, Hailey quickly became his comfort. On top of that, the two really bonded. Hailey shared his spiritual beliefs, empathized with the struggles, and had experience dealing with people battling drugs. Over time, their bond grew stronger. Whenever Justin and Selena were apart, Justin and Hailey would hang out. It wasn't romantic, well, at least not yet, but it was enough to cause problems for Jelena in the future. Then came June of 2014. In what felt like classic Jelena fashion, Justin posted a picture of himself and Selena with the caption, "Unconditional Love." So fans immediately assumed they were back together. But just as quickly as he posted it, Justin deleted the photo. And a few days later, he uploaded a photo of himself watching a show alone, captured "Alone and Comfy." If the fans were confused, they weren't alone. Nobody could tell if they were together or broken up. Fortunately for the fans, by June 18th, the situation seemed clearer. Justin and Selena were spotted attending a Bible study together, with both posting Instagram photos at church services, and news soon confirmed what many had suspected. Jelena was officially back on. So, despite the concerns that people reportedly believed the two were toxic for each other, Justin and Selena gave their relationship another shot. However, this time they had a different strategy. Instead of going fast, they decided to take it slow. But did they really know how to slow things down? You see, it didn't take long for the drama to creep back in, because that same year, Justin was seen hanging out with influencer Chantel Jeffries, social media personality Catherine Pays, and his friend Lil Za at his house. That same day, Justin posted photos with Chantel and Catherine, captioning it, "Studio with these fools." However, what made this worse was that Selena wasn't there, and she reportedly had no idea that Justin was back in touch with Chantel until the media picked up the story. Remember, Chantel wasn't just a random friend. She and Justin had their own history together, including being with him the night he was arrested for drag racing in Miami earlier that year. So when pictures of them surfaced again, speculation about them dating reignited, and Selena was furious. When Selena confronted Justin about his reunion with Chantel, it allegedly led to a massive fight, one that ended the relationship yet again. However, by the time July came around, it was reported that Justin and Selena were officially done. But instead of a peaceful breakup, both of them seemed determined to make each other jealous. They started publicly posting pictures of themselves out on dates with other people. Some people might say this was immature or toxic, but for Justin, it only added to the emotional damage of someone whose mental health was already spiraling. And that should have been the end of it, right? Well, not exactly. You see, the drama didn't stop when they weren't together. In 2015, Justin was briefly linked to model Sophia Richie. When Justin posted photos with Sophia on Instagram, fans weren't happy, and neither was Selena. In August of 2016, Justin threatened to make his Instagram private after receiving hateful comments about Sophia, saying, "I'm gonna make my Instagram private if you guys don't stop the hate. This is getting out of hands. If you guys are really fans, you wouldn't be so mean to people that I like." However, to everyone's surprise, Selena chimed in, "If you can't handle the hate, then stop posting pictures of your girlfriend, lol. It should be special between you two only. Don't be mad at your fans. They love and supported you before anyone else did." Neither Justin nor his new girlfriend Sophia ever really addressed Selena's comments. However, Justin would later post a cryptic message, which a lot of fans thought was aimed at Selena, writing, "It's funny to see people that use me for attention and solidarity to point the finger this way. Sad, all love." Justin immediately deleted his entire Instagram account after the feud. But was that really the end of their love story? You see, just when it seemed like they were finally done, Justin and Selena shocked everyone by reconnecting in late 2017. After Selena's high-profile breakup with The Weeknd, she and Justin were spotted attending church service, riding bikes together, and looking happier than ever. Of course, a lot of Jelena fans held on to the hope that maybe this time it would work out. But sadly, by March of 2018, the inevitable happened. But this time, the couple broke up again for good. Sources said Selena realized that even though he's made some positive improvements, they just aren't a perfect match right now. And while other sources claimed that they were taking a break, it quickly became clear that the relationship had run its course. Unfortunately, their problem wasn't just their relationship. See, over the years, Justin kept running into trouble for partying or wild behavior. On the other hand, Selena was dealing with health issues and was just entering rehab. And sadly, day by day, fans started to realize that while they truly loved each other, their lives were on different paths at the moment. And while Justin might have had Selena as his world behind the scenes, in 2010, he gave fans My World 2.0, which was a sequel to his EP. At just 16 years old, My World 2.0 debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, making him the youngest solo male artist to top the charts since Stevie Wonder in 1963. The overwhelming success of the album catapulted Bieber into stardom, but as Justin Bieber started to climb to his peak with his massive hit single Baby, the least thing anyone expected was a scandal. In late 2011, the word baby had a different kind of ring for Justin Bieber, when 20-year-old Mariah Yeater filed a paternity lawsuit against him. Bieber, who was just 17 at the time, found himself at the center of a very public controversy. According to sworn court documents, Yeater claimed that the incident happened backstage after one of Bieber's concerts at the Staples Center in Los Angeles in October of 2010, which complicated things even more. At the time, Yeater was 19 and Bieber was only 16, and if the allegations were true, they could have gotten worse consequences. You see, under California law, relations between an adult and a minor under the age of 18 could be classified as statutory. However, according to Mariah, she and Bieber had an instant mutual attraction, which led to what she described as a passionate, love-making session in a backstage bathroom, which led to her giving birth to a baby boy, where she claimed she had exactly 36 weeks and 2 days later. In her own words, Yeater insisted that there could be no other possible father. She even pointed to the baby's appearance as evidence, telling the Daily Star, "Just look at the baby's mouth. Look familiar?" So what did JB have to say about all of these accusations? Well, from the very start, Bieber and his legal team denied the allegations. According to one of his representatives, while we haven't seen the lawsuit yet, it's sad that someone would fabricate malicious and defamatory and false claims. On top of that, in response to the growing media chaos, Bieber's attorneys announced their client's willingness to submit a paternity test to debunk the claims. And if the test confirmed that Bieber was telling the truth, that they never even met, it would force Bieber's camp to sue her for defamation. And despite the serious nature of the claims, Bieber also found moments to address the situation with humor. In an interview on a morning show, he said, "If it was up to me, it would have been a better story, like Justin Bieber went off to South America with his 27-year-old supermodel. That would have been an awesome rumor." But jokes aside, he also said, "As far as the whole baby situation, it's unfortunate it had to happen like that people make false accusations." But as the scandal exploded in the media, cracks in Mariah's story started to show, and by early November, she briefly withdrew her lawsuit from San Diego Superior Court. However, the legal drama wasn't over. You see, even though the official court case was dismissed, Mariah's new attorney, Jeffrey Leving, suggested that the case wasn't completely dead. In a statement to the Associated Press, Leving clarified, "This case was not dismissed. It can be refiled today or tomorrow. We're trying to settle this matter out of court." Leving also revealed that Yeater had been receiving threats on her life from Bieber's massive fanbase, forcing her to change her phone number and avoid the public. However, as the scandal progressed, the public started to side more and more with Bieber, especially once they found out what happened next. See, with just one text message, Mariah dismantled what little credibility she still had. Sadly, her case further fell apart when TMZ released a set of alleged text messages exchanged between Mariah and a friend. In one of the messages, Mariah appeared to be pleading with her friend to delete incriminating texts, stating, "Please erase all messages from my mom where she says Tristan is Robbie's son. I'll kick you when we get paid. I'm trusting you, please." However, what really led people to believe that she was lying for money was when another message surfaced. This time, it was for her ex-boyfriend Robbie, writing, "Would you please stress with Robbie how important it is for him to be in his son's life?" And that basically proved Justin innocent, as he was clearly not the father. So while this paternity scandal threatened to block out Justin Bieber's career, it barely slowed him down. You see, in 2011, Bieber dropped his first Christmas album, Under the Mistletoe. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, and hits like Mistletoe became a Christmas banger, which only fueled his momentum even more. However, Justin wasn't done just yet. In fact, just a year later, Bieber dropped his third studio album, Believe, which also debuted at #1 and quickly went multi-platinum. Unfortunately, after dominating the charts with these two albums, Justin's life took a darker turn. By 2012, Justin Bieber wasn't just a pop star, he was the pop star. Unfortunately, this kind of large fame came with its consequences, and one of them was constantly dodging paparazzi. You see, it was May of 2012 when Justin Bieber decided to catch a movie with his girlfriend at the time, Selena Gomez. And what was supposed to be a fun shopping date at the Commons Shopping Center in Calabasas turned out to be a complete nightmare. As Bieber and Gomez tried to leave the movie theater, a pack of paparazzi swarmed their vehicle, and that really irritated Bieber. One of the paparazzi was a man named Jose Duran, who claimed that as the couple tried to pull away in Justin's Mercedes, photographers attempted to block their path. This really triggered JB, and just like that, tension boiled over. Bieber, allegedly fuming with rage, even yelled, "Fuck off, get out of the way," before they tried to drive off. However, things were far from over. According to the complaints, a few seconds later, defendant put the Mercedes Sprinter van in park, opened the driver's side door all the way, and leapt out. He sprinted as fast as he could towards plaintiff. When he was approximately 6 to 8 feet from plaintiff, he jumped toward plaintiff and delivered a martial arts type kick. So is Justin Bieber an MMA fighter now, or is he some type of ninja? See, he didn't just jump kick him, he added, he kicked me, punched me, and pushed me up against a car. I did not retaliate even though he was attacking me because I did not want to hurt him. No one should treat another person the way Justin Bieber treated me. And with that kind of physical abuse, Duran had no choice but to sue Bieber for assault and battery, saying, "I'm bringing this lawsuit to hold Justin Bieber responsible for his actions." Adding to the drama, witnesses reported seeing Selena Gomez trying to intervene, stepping out the van to try and calm Bieber as the altercation spiraled out of control. Sadly though, it was too late, and the damage had already been done. More than a year after the altercation, Duran filed a civil suit against Bieber, alleging assault, battery, negligence, and severe emotional distress. Duran's attorney, Stephen Madison, painted a disturbing picture of the scene, claiming Bieber's outburst left bystanders stunned, stating, "People were watching aghast, and Mr. Duran was pleading with Bieber with his hands raised in a very submissive position to just stop." Unfortunately for Duran, there were no photographs captured of the attack since it reportedly happened behind a car. However, he still claimed that he was left with bruises and ongoing psychological coma. Bieber's longtime attorney offered a brief response. Seriously, they later settled. However, what made this incident more concerning was that it wasn't an isolated one. Earlier that same year, Bieber had a similar public meltdown, but this time it was in London. In the viral video, Bieber and his security team were initially seen rushing towards the vehicle. And throughout all the chaos, one of the paparazzi was pushed a little bit harshly, which he thought was enough to be considered assault.
That's assault! That's assault! You're in our way.
Angered by what happened, paparazzi started calling Justin a bunch of names.
He did it. We had to walk right out the way, man. He was out. You gotta move out the way. Little cock. Go fight.
However, what he didn't know was that Justin was able to hear all of this. So, what did Justin do? Well, Bieber can be seen lunging out of his vehicle and charging at the paparazzi, screaming,
You say? What'd you say? You heard what I said, right? Lose your fucking belt. Lose your fucking belt. Lose your fucking belt.
As the security team scrambled to hold him back. This wasn't just about one bad day in Calabasas and London. It was a part of a larger pattern that indicated Justin Bieber was struggling with the pressures of fame. You see, the endless media attention and constant invasion of privacy were too tiring for anyone. Can you imagine getting involved in a high-speed car chase just to escape irritating paparazzi? Well, that's what happened back in 2012. Justin Bieber was cruising down LA's 101 freeway in his flashy chrome Fisker Karma. However, what started as a casual drive turned into a high-speed nightmare when a pack of relentless paparazzi locked onto him like vultures, and leading the chase was paparazzi Paul Rafe. According to reports from Los Angeles City's attorney's office, Rafe, driving a Toyota SUV, didn't just tail Bieber. He and 5 other paparazzi raced them at speeds exceeding 80 miles per hour. This chase was extremely dangerous because there were times when Rafe allegedly swerved between lanes, forcing his way into traffic without any room to merge safely. Other drivers on the road were forced to slam on their brakes and swerve just to avoid a crash. Unfortunately for Rafe, this wasn't just another reckless case. You see, he didn't know that he'd be part of history as it marked the first time California's new anti-paparazzi law would be put to the test. You see, the anti-paparazzi law was designed specifically to prevent this kind of dangerous behavior that became very common in LA. But during that day, it became very clear just how hard it would be to enforce. As officers attempted to pull over both Bieber and the swarm of pursuing vehicles, only Bieber complied. He was cited for speeding and released, with a court appearance scheduled for later that month. But unfortunately, the chaos didn't end there, because just 30 minutes after that initial stop, Bieber called 911 to report that Rafe was at it again. Officers eventually tracked down the photographer in a downtown Los Angeles parking garage, surrounded by other paparazzi. And prosecutors wasted no time filing charges against Rafe. He faced 4 misdemeanors, including reckless driving with intent to capture pictures for commercial gain, reckless driving, failure to obey a police officer, and following another vehicle too closely. If convicted, Rafe faced up to a year in county jail and a fine of $3,500. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way Bieber hoped. You see, while Rafe still faced charges for reckless driving and failing to obey a police officer, the judge dismissed the anti-paparazzi law changes. However, that wasn't all. Unfortunately for Justin Bieber, his clean-cut, perfect teen heartthrob image had already started to crack as early as 2013, but nothing prepared the public for one of the most bizarre and disrespectful moments early in his career. While staying at a hotel in his hometown, Justin appeared on a balcony where a bunch of devoted fans had gathered below. Keep in mind that these were the same fans who spent hours waiting, hoping for a simple wave, a smile, or even just a glimpse of the pop sensation. But what they got instead was something no one could have predicted. Justin, standing above the crowd, leaned over the balcony and decided to launch a massive spitball, spitting down towards his own supporters. But why would he do that? Was it just for fun? Because most people wouldn't find it funny. See, one bad aim and somebody could have been hit square in the face. And shockingly, instead of showing remorse, Justin seemed to be proud of himself. In fact, he'd even take a smug selfie on the balcony immediately after. However, according to one of Bieber's representatives, TMZ was just spreading lies. Justin didn't spit on anyone. No fans were below the balcony. TMZ superimposed photos of the fans next to Justin on a completely different balcony to make it appear like he was spitting on fans when he wasn't. In fact, earlier in the day, Justin bought his fans hot chocolate and played them some of his new music. Justin loves his fans, and although that might be possible, it doesn't change the fact that this happened before. You see, to make matters worse, this wasn't an isolated incident. In fact, that same year, Bieber had been accused multiple times of spitting on people he had beef with. From neighbors to a lady at the gym, and even a DJ, spitting seemed to be one of his favorite forms of passive-aggressive assault. But this time, turning this nasty habit into a twisted gesture of affection for his own fans marked a new low. For instance, Bieber received a battery complaint back in March of 2013 from his neighbors after allegedly spitting and threatening them. According to court documents, without any provocation or justification, Bieber assaulted and battered Mr. Schwartz by spitting in his face and threatening to effing Mr. Schwartz and effing kick his. According to the neighbors, Bieber felt like he was above the law, stating he's a punk, he thinks he's invincible. He can't continue to have a bunch of enablers around him. Spitting on someone is unacceptable. He can't do this to people. Justin Bieber is a bully. He's been spitting at, punching, and bullying other members of the public with impunity for years. So what's up with Justin Bieber and his spitting problem? Was it a way of lashing out, or did he feel like he could get away with this kind of assault? You see, just a few months later, Bieber would again get accused of spitting at someone, but this time, he allegedly got into a fight with an Ohio DJ, Addison O'Hawk. According to Addison, the altercation started when two of Justin Bieber's security team decided to press him for allegedly taking pictures of Bieber at a nightclub. However, even after repeatedly stating that he did not take any pictures, one of Justin Bieber's security guards grabbed his phone and started looking for photographs. Unfortunately, this didn't stop Bieber from allegedly approaching the DJ and verbally abusing him, before spitting on his face, saying he called my mom something, called my dad something, called me something, and spit in my face. But that wasn't all. Earlier that year, Bieber was already involved in another spitting scandal. This time, he allegedly spat on a female fan at a gym. Reports said that Justin Bieber allegedly mocked North Carolina radio host Colette Harrington and even possibly spat blue Gatorade into her water bottle after she asked him for a photograph. I go back to working out and take a drink from my water bottle, only it's Justin's blue Gatorade. I spit it out right away, thinking about his disgusting spit. I did not look at my water bottle before taking a drink. But if the balcony spitting wasn't enough to stain his image, Justin Bieber had another notorious stunt up his sleeve. Around the same period in 2013, a video surfaced showing Justin in a New York restaurant kitchen, out partying with his crew. That should have been harmless, right? Well, not exactly. You see, as they made their way through the back of the establishment, Justin, without hesitation, pulled down his pants and urinated directly into a janitor's mop bucket.
It's a hate for you, man. Quick little piss break, quick restroom we can get to.
His friends cheered him on like it was some kind of accomplishment, and in the clip, you can hear them shouting,
"We swagger, man. This is just a better spot to piss, bro. We the wild kids. That's a cooler spot to piss. You'll forever remember that."
This wasn't just immature, it was outright disrespectful. Out of nowhere, Bieber treated the mop bucket like his personal toilet, leaving behind a disgusting mess for the employee to clean up.
What are we though, bro? What are we? We the wild kids, yo! Wild kids! Wild kids in this.
However, if you thought that was the end of the clip, you're flat out wrong, because Justin Bieber wasn't done messing around. The mop bucket incident didn't stop with his urine. On the same wild night out, Justin grabbed a spray bottle of cleaning solution and sprayed it on a photo of former US President Bill Clinton. However, before doing that, Justin had something to say to him. Sadly, this wasn't just petty, it was completely unnecessary. And with this kind of disgusting behavior, it led people to believe that Bieber was a teen star who was spiraling out of control. However, even with all the controversy, Justin Bieber was still riding high thanks to his sophomore album Believe, which had dropped earlier that year. But out of nowhere, Bieber did something no one really expected. On December 23, 2013, Justin Bieber took to Twitter and dropped a bombshell, writing, "My beloved Beliebers, I'm officially retiring. The media talks a lot about me. They make up a lot of lies and want me to fail, but I'm never leaving you. Being a believer is a lifestyle." And that tweet shocked everyone. You see, at just 19 years old, Justin was ready to leave all of his music behind. Well, at least for the foreseeable future. Some thought it was a joke, while some thought it was just a cry for attention. However, fans also felt that the main issue was that Justin might be overwhelmed, and the retirement seemed like a way to escape all the pressure. His management tried to step in and downplay the retirement as a rough moment, saying next year he's just taking a break to just make music and relax and take time to himself. It's the first time he's had a break since he was 12. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. The media went into overdrive and fans were completely devastated. But just as Justin was stepping back from the spotlight, controversy was waiting around the corner. Because just the following year, shocking footage would surface that could have easily ended his career. In 2014, two devastatingly racist videos from Justin Bieber's past surfaced, and they nearly ended his career. The first video showed a 14-year-old Justin telling a racist joke where the punchline was the N-word.
Father's Day. Which is mean. That's just straight.
Why are black people afraid of chainsaws?
Don't even say it. Don't say
Run.
You can say motorcycle too.
But what followed was even worse. Another clip emerged shortly after, and it was far more disturbing. In the video, a young Bieber sang a twisted, racist parody of his own hit song One Less Lonely Girl. Only in this version, he repeatedly used the N-word.
One less lonely nigga.
Even worse, Justin and his friends could be heard laughing in the background, treating the deeply offensive lines as a joke. The backlash came immediately, and the public was obviously outraged. Of course, with that kind of massive scandal, it didn't take long for Bieber to issue an apology. Initially, he claimed that he was still young and immature, stating, "I was a kid then, and I'm a man now who knows my responsibility to the world and to not make that mistake again. I thought it was okay to repeat hurtful words and jokes, but didn't realize at the time that it wasn't funny and that in fact my actions were continuing the ignorance." However, what was even more surprising about the video was that at that point, he was already friends with many African Americans. In fact, what made this even harder to watch was the fact that the main person who flew him out to the US was Usher. So he also asked for their forgiveness, stating, "I'm very sorry. I take my friendships with people of all cultures very seriously, and I apologize for offending or hurting anyone with my childish and inexcusable mistake." However, some found it weird that that specific video was hidden from the public until a few years later. The thing is, according to reports, what really happened was that Justin had seen someone online doing a similar parody and thought it was funny to imitate. Allegedly, he even bragged about it to his mentor, Usher. Unfortunately, he didn't take that joke lightly. According to TMZ, Usher was furious. He allegedly took Bieber into a room and forced him to watch historically racist videos to help him understand the severity of what he said. Only then it was claimed that Justin grasped how damaging his words were. However, the story didn't end there. TMZ reported that the individuals who held the video had kept it secret for years, allegedly demanding up to $1 million from Justin and his team to keep it buried. But rather than paying up, Bieber's camp decided to let the video surface, hoping to address the issue head on. Many fans believed that this would be the start of Justin Bieber's downfall. Unfortunately for them, this was only the start of Justin's bad boy era, as the controversies were only just beginning to unfold. Over the next few years, Justin Bieber would get involved in more serious legal issues. While his early controversies like his altercation with paparazzi and even a paternity lawsuit back in 2011 were bad enough, unfortunately for Beliebers, things were about to get much worse. Back in January of 2014, Justin Bieber once again made headlines, but this time, it was following his arrest in Miami Beach, Florida.
Right there, he's right there. Go, Amanda, what are you doing? Justin's gonna get, oh my God, he's gonna get in the crash. Please, let me.
Oh my God, Justin just got pulled over.
Police caught Justin Bieber and his friend Khalil Sharif racing a yellow Lamborghini and a red Ferrari down a neighborhood street. Two SUVs were supposedly blocking off the road so they could turn it into a makeshift drag strip. When cops pulled Bieber over, he seemed drunk and didn't pass the sobriety test. He had bloodshot eyes, and police stated that you could easily smell the odor of alcohol. On top of that, Justin tried to resist arrest, asking the officers, "Why the F are you doing this? What the F did I do? Why'd you stop me? I ain't got no effing weapons." Unfortunately, he still ended up getting charged with a DUI, resisting arrest, and driving with an expired license. Luckily for Justin, he was released from jail after posting a $2,500 bond.
So the total bond would be $2,500, broken down $1,000 resisting without violence, $1,000 for the DUI, and $500 for the expired driver's license.
7 years after the arrest, Bieber reflected on the incident in an Instagram post. He described himself at the time as hurting, unhappy, confused, angry, misled, misunderstood, and angry at God. While Justin might have walked free from these charges, people were starting to get concerned about his overall well-being. You see, when the toxicology report came out for Justin's DUI, it was revealed that Bieber had marijuana and Xanax in his system at the time of his arrest. Despite his blood alcohol level being below the legal limit, the combination of substances contributed to his bad state. And you know what? Fans were right to be concerned because this was one of the earliest signs of Justin's drug abuse. You see, just days before his DUI arrest, Bieber's Calabasas, California home was raided by police investigating a vandalism incident involving an egg throwing at a neighbor's house. During the search, authorities found cocaine in plain view and arrested Bieber's friend, rapper Lil Za, for narcotics possession. Fortunately, Bieber was not charged in connection with the drug possession. However, he was later charged with a misdemeanor for vandalism relating to the egging incident. In July 2014, he pleaded no contest, which resulted in him having to pay $80,000 in damages, serve 2 years of probation, attend 12 weeks of anger management classes, and complete 5 days of community service. However, that didn't mean he was totally out of the woods yet when it came to drug charges, because just a month later, Bieber's private jet was searched for drugs upon arrival in New Jersey.
Biebs jetting into town for the Super Bowl, but detained by authorities who said they noticed a strong odor of pot on the plane.
Authorities suspected that the people on the flight were smoking marijuana during it. However, no drugs were found and no charges were filed. Unfortunately, the bad news for the year wasn't over, as 2014 was a really challenging time for Justin's career. In fact, he'd also get involved in multiple assault cases that year. However, his first case in 2014 really took place a month earlier when Justin and his crew attended a Toronto Maple Leafs hockey game. On December 29th of 2013, the group was picked up by a limousine outside a nightclub in downtown Toronto. However, during the ride to the hotel, things got very messy. An altercation occurred between one of the passengers and the driver, and according to police reports, a man struck the driver on the back of the head multiple times. After that, the driver stopped the vehicle, exited, and called the police. Unfortunately, the attacker had already left the scene before the authorities arrived. To everyone's shock, just a month later, Bieber voluntarily surrendered to the Toronto police. He was charged with 1 count of assault in connection with the limousine incident.
Yes, Justin Bieber is now inside 52 Division. He just exited a black SUV. Windows were tinted. A number of police officers in yellow jackets were there to help him in because the crowds were massive. Lots of media, lots of fans.
Luckily for him, the assault charge was dropped in September of that same year. Unfortunately, just 2 days before those charges were dropped, Bieber was once again arrested. This time, it was near his hometown of Stratford, Ontario. So what exactly happened this time? Well, Justin got caught in an incident involving an ATV and a minivan collision. However, the main issue occurred after the collision because Bieber decided to fight with one of the minivan's occupants. After the incident, Bieber again went to the police station on his own, where he was arrested for dangerous driving and assault. But while Justin's continuous legal issues made headlines in 2014, what came next shocked everyone. In March of 2015, Bieber teased his fans' new music when he participated in a Comedy Central roast.
A lot of people off over the past few years, but I know I can still turn out good music and turn everything all around. You have my word, I will not end up broken, pathetic, bitter, or sitting on the dais of somebody else's roast.
And to his credit, he stayed true to his words. It might have taken a long time, but in October of that year, Justin dropped Sorry, a song that served as a public apology for his past behavior. The song debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and eventually reached number 1, becoming one of his most successful singles. And Sorry was just the beginning. You see, right after that, he dropped Love Yourself, which showcased the more mature side of Justin. And if there was any doubt that Justin Bieber was back on top, Love Yourself topped the Billboard Hot 100 and was nominated for 2 Grammy Awards. This comeback marked a new chapter in his career. You see, after a year of absence, Justin was back, topping the charts and winning the hearts of his teenage fans once again. However, since he was back in the spotlight, the pressure was starting to get to him again. Back in November of 2016, Justin was on his Purpose World Tour when he found himself at the center of yet another controversy that would further tarnish his image. You see, while on his way to a concert in Barcelona, Spain, Bieber was caught in 4K punching a fan who reached into his car. Well, maybe next time fans should avoid running up to his car and sticking their hand in the window. Fortunately, in the end, no charges were filed, but it was just another scandal to add to Justin's growing list of controversies. But it wasn't all bad for Justin. You see, when 2017 rolled around, Justin was about to take over the music industry once more. Fresh off the release of his highly successful Purpose album, Justin Bieber let everyone know that he still had the magic touch. As a result, everyone, and I mean everyone, wanted to work with him. He was featured on DJ Khaled's hit titled I'm the One, alongside Chance the Rapper, Quavo, and Lil Wayne. The song debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, proving that Justin Bieber's star power was still undeniable. And of course, we can't talk about his insane feature run in 2017 without mentioning the biggest song that year. That's right, I'm talking about none other than Despacito. By early 2017, the song was gaining massive traction online, appearing in memes, topping the Billboard charts, and earning all sorts of accolades. So for an artist like Luis Fonsi, it was a dream come true. But little did he know, his year was about to get even bigger, because it was announced that Justin Bieber would be featured on the remix of Despacito, which meant another massive win for the Latin artist behind the song. And when it finally dropped, everyone lost their minds. Thanks to his involvement, the track went on to spend a record-breaking 16 weeks at number 1. However, not everything was smooth sailing. If you know Justin, you could probably guess what was coming next, right? Well, Justin once again found himself at the center of controversy, this time over Despacito, the very song he helped push to number 1. You see, a video surfaced of him at a party singing the lyrics in a way many found racially insensitive and offensive, quickly sparking backlash online. Insulting the Spanish language after featuring on Despacito a couple months before was wild to fans, but wait, it gets worse, because there were tons of fans and news articles calling him out for cultural appropriation. Fortunately, it looked like Justin Bieber took the advice to heart, because during one of his shows, fans were begging him to perform the song once more. And can you really blame them? The remix was the biggest hit of the year, so there were a lot of fans eager to hear him perform it. However, Justin had other plans.
I can't do Despacito without even knowing.
You can clearly hear the crowd's disappointment, to which he replied, This decision to not perform Despacito infuriated one particular fan, who went on and did this. Kudos to Justin for dodging that, but having a bottle thrown at you was indicative of how the Latino community felt about him using Despacito for a quick buck. And even with the song's huge success, the controversy went deeper. The music industry and major corporations began to realize how profitable the Latin demographic was. One such example was Spotify, who were eager to put Justin's Despacito remix front and center, which led them to this wildly insensitive ad on Instagram. As popular and beloved as the remix was, the backlash to the ad was just as strong. At Spotify, how stupid are your employees to put Justin Bieber as the Latin king for forgetting the lyrics of a song in Spanish? Of course, they brought up the time that Justin made fun of the Spanish lyrics. Keep in mind, this is the same dude who basically said blah 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 when he was supposed to be singing in Spanish in a concert. Disrespectful. I'm not sure what Spotify was thinking after running that ad campaign, but after all the backlash from fans, they released a statement saying, "We made a creative decision to feature Justin Bieber in our ad because we wanted to celebrate Despacito as a key cultural moment when music genres cross over. We realized that this could also be seen as culturally insensitive, so we have pulled those ads." But what did Luis Fonsi, the original singer, have to say about Justin Bieber's antics? Well, he had this to say. I don't blame him not knowing the lyrics, and I think we have to give him a little bit of a pass because that's not his main language. However, the truth was that he probably felt some type of way towards a pop star. There was a time when the remix was nowhere to be seen on Spotify. However, the cultural appropriation allegations didn't stem from the Despacito controversy alone. See, Justin didn't help his case either, especially in April of 2021 when he took to Instagram to debut a new hairstyle. Obviously, fans aired him out for being racially insensitive once again. The wild thing is, this wasn't the first time Justin was called out for appropriating another culture's hairstyle. Back in 2016, he was also under heavy scrutiny for having dreads.
Justin Bieber impressed the crowd at Sunday night's iHeartRadio Music Awards, but something about his look didn't impress viewers at home. Those dreadlocks. Justin debuted the new do just a couple of days before the show on Instagram with a string of selfies, captioning this shot, "Why?" which is actually a question a lot of people were asking online, calling Bieber's dreads cultural appropriation.
And it just seemed like everywhere he went, Justin had no respect for any country's culture. That same year, Justin Bieber geared up to go on the road for his Purpose World Tour. The similarly titled album sold 600,000 units in its first week, while having star-studded features from the likes of Travis Scott, Nas, and Big Sean. Anyways, whenever big-name artists do a worldwide tour, China is typically the one place that's always present in their agenda because of how much money the Chinese market rakes in. However, while Chinese fans were excited to hear their favorite artist perform his hottest new songs, like Love Yourself, little did they know Justin's concert in China wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Here's why.
China has now banned the Coldwater crooner from performing in the country, blaming what they call his bad behavior on and off stage.
Getting banned from performing is wild, but you know what's even wilder? It's that the government themselves orchestrated the ban.
The Beijing Municipal Bureau of Culture claiming the ban was necessary to purify the country's entertainment industry, adding, quote, "Justin Bieber is a gifted singer, but he is also a controversial young foreign idol."
So what did Justin Bieber do to deserve this? Well, it turns out that he's done quite a lot of things that have angered the government, one of which happened at the Great Wall of China back in 2013.
On Monday, the Biebs, who is currently touring Asia, was photographed being carried by his bodyguards.
But if you think that China overreacted and went too far with their decision to ban his Purpose tour, because that's not the only reason why they're not fond of him. Another thing that Justin Bieber was guilty of was going to Japan. And no, going to Japan was not their reason. You see, his trip with Japan back in 2014 didn't come with the common types of controversy you often associate with Justin Bieber. In fact, the only thing he did was take a photograph in front of the Yakusuni Shrine in Tokyo. But here's the problem, that shrine wasn't any ordinary shrine. It was a pretty big deal for the Chinese government. The shrine was a memorial to the fallen Japanese soldiers of World War II. As a result, it often strikes a nerve with China and Korea for its overall apathy towards Japanese war crimes. So usually, whenever someone in power visits, it's seen as an antagonistic move towards Japan's victims, like China. And when Bieber did it, they were more than angry. Of course, he tried to do damage control by taking the post down after realizing that he might have alienated a huge part of his fan base, but it was far too late. While in Japan, I asked my driver to pull over when I saw a beautiful shrine. I was misled to think that shrines were only a place of prayer. To anyone I have offended, I am extremely sorry. I love you, China, and I love you, Japan. In the end, his apologies fell on deaf ears, and 3 years was more than enough for the Chinese government to remember just how deeply they felt wronged by the pop star. In July of 2018, Justin Bieber proudly announced that he was now engaged to his then girlfriend, Hailey Bieber. Was gonna wait a while to say anything, but word travels fast. Listen, plain and simple. Hailey, I am so in love with everything about you. So committed to spending my life getting to know every single part of you, loving you patiently and kindly. So far, things seem to be going well for him, right? After all, Justin had been through a share of tough times growing up in the spotlight, so finding real love didn't seem like such a bad move at this stage in his life. And just a month after getting engaged, the two had a small, intimate wedding.
know where we were, and I know where we are, and I feel like I can see where we're going.
And based on their wedding videos and the way they spoke about each other, it's easy to believe that Justin had finally found the one he was meant to spend his life with. But behind the scenes, there's a much darker side to the relationship than meets the eye. You see, although their wedding came as a surprise to fans, this was always the endgame that Hailey Baldwin envisioned for herself and Justin growing up by all means necessary. But to understand that, we're gonna have to take you back to where it all started. You see, the two first met in 2009 after Hailey's father pulled some strings and connections to have the two cross paths.
My daughter Hailey. The third song? Yeah. We've been enjoying your music.
It's important to note that during this time, Justin was still together with Selena Gomez, and fans loved their dynamic as a young teenage Billboard charting and hit-making couple. Nevertheless, that never stopped Hailey Baldwin from worming her way into Justin's life. Fast forward 3 years to 2012, while Justin was out on a date with Selena, the paparazzi actually caught someone unexpectedly trailing them on camera. Spoiler alert, it was Hailey. And if you think this is just a coincidence, think again, because in 2024, Hailey was exposed by a Justin Bieber superfan for some truly creepy stan behavior.
I feel like this is an opening to a documentary. I used to be a Bieber fan, and I'm not talking a Bieber fan, I'm talking a New York City Bieber fan, and we've all been there, but...
The superfan, who we'll call Dana, wasn't an ordinary fan. She had hundreds of thousands of fellow JB fans following her account. Not only that, she had easy access to him because of where she was from.
I lived in New York City and I had the resources to go see him.
So how does Dana fit into all of this? Well, she had screenshots of private messages between her and Hailey, where she often asked about Justin's location, such as the hotel he was staying in and whatnot.
But she said, "What hotel is Justin staying at? Kylie and I want to know."
After Dana gave her the address, here's what happened next.
She would give her that info because she would either stay at that hotel or she would eat at that hotel or do whatever at that hotel so she could bump into him. Hailey Baldwin went from trying to bump into Justin Bieber at the Satai, the London, to marriage. It is so iconic. Like, everyone's making a joke that it was her 10-year plan.
But here's the thing. Hailey was smart. Not only did she force her way into Justin's life, she also befriended the Jenner sisters just to have the extra clout and connection since Kylie was close friends with Justin Bieber. Because of that, her obsession started to reap its benefits. Because after Selena and Justin had one of their many breakups, Hailey was spotted together with Justin on a date. Unfortunately for her, Justin wasn't ready for a serious relationship and was even seen going out with pop artist Halsey. Of course, Hailey took it hard, because in her eyes, she was the only woman who should ever be linked to him. To add to that, she uploaded this video showing how she reacted after a Halsey song played on the radio.
Can you change the station? Yeah. Please.
So seeing as how hostile she was to Halsey, who was only spotted a couple times with Justin Bieber, can you imagine how she felt towards Selena Gomez? Although she never publicly lashed out at Justin's longtime ex, it was obvious that she had some sort of inferiority complex towards her. After all, Selena Gomez was a chart-topping and record-breaking artist who managed to catch the eye of Justin for almost a decade. So compared to her, Hailey was obviously at a disadvantage. So she thought that there was no other way for her to compete with Selena, except for one thing: imitation. You see, time and time again, Hailey was caught copying every single thing that Selena did. And when I say everything, I mean everything. From the clothes she wore, down to the poses Selena did on camera. Now, if it happened once or twice, we could probably chalk it up to it being a rare coincidence. However, Hailey has done this time and time again. So why would Justin marry someone who wishes they were his ex? I'm sure many other women would have wanted to marry him. He chose a Selena wannabe. That's crazy. This is what a fan said online. But anyways, while this was going on, Justin had already broken up with Selena for the final time, which meant the door was wide open for Hailey to come in and take Justin Bieber for himself. Not only is that disturbing, but it's pretty creepy to have your fiance or wife become a cheap imitation of your ex. Keep in mind that it wasn't about clothes or poses. It felt like Hailey was even trying to hide it. Just look at this interview by Selena.
When I was younger, I felt like it was weakness to be vulnerable and to share my heart with people.
Now check out Hailey Baldwin's.
I was always the type of person where it freaked me out, the idea of giving people too much or letting them in too much to my personal life. So
sure, that might have been another quote-unquote coincidence, but this next sequence should be enough to prove otherwise.
I realized that everybody else seemed to be narrating my life for me.
Yes.
So why don't I put something out that is my side of the story?
I was able to tell my story about who I was from my own mouth, instead of people from the outside being able to tell my story for me.
As wild as it might sound, Selena and her choice of words in interviews wasn't the end of her imitation. Hailey also tried to emulate her cooking show beat for beat.
Check, 1, 2, take 1. You follow me. Good?
Yeah, you're good.
Ready.
You're going in the fruits.
This is my real home. Everything that we're doing is at home. This is my amazing kitchen, which is the set.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually are in my real kitchen, in my real house. This is not a set.
But as ridiculous and twisted as her methods might be, you could say it worked. See, after all the ridiculous stunts that Hailey pulled, it looked like her efforts weren't for nothing, because 4 years after they married, the couple happily announced that they were expecting their first child together. However, although the two always posted how happy they were online, it didn't take long for cracks in their public image to form. In fact, there were plenty of instances caught on camera which showed Justin treating Hailey horribly.
What up, Jay? What's up? Good morning, Justin.
Here's another more damning clip which speaks for itself. However, rumors about the two having a problematic relationship were quickly shot down after they kept posting intimate photos. But there are many more unhinged moments between the quote-unquote happy couple caught on camera, like that one time when Justin lashed out at her.
Does this look like a playground to you? This is a studio workplace, and you're disrupting me. That is not cool.
To add to that, here's another more disturbing clip.
If you weren't so hot, I would have got rid of you a long time ago.
So if there was already friction between the two, why did they follow through on their decision to tie the knot? Well, according to Justin, it wasn't really his decision to make. In an interview that had fans stunned, he once said he didn't have to do anything, and that the whole event was orchestrated and planned by Hailey herself.
She was involved in pretty much all of the decision making as far as like the wedding was concerned. I just basically showed up.
To make matters worse, Justin's behavior was rarely held accountable. Even though there are countless compilations showing him being a terrible partner, his music was still poppin', and fans were eager to hear new music. He was still racking up hundreds of millions of plays day by day, and that's how solid his back catalog was. However, the same can't be said about his marriage, because it was the exact opposite of solid. You see, according to Justin himself, his marriage sure wasn't some grand gesture of everlasting love. It was more like an escape route for him to fix his life.
It's a journey, and I remember when I first got married, I hit a little bit of an emotional breakdown because I thought marriage was gonna fix all my problems.
However, the moment Hailey caught wind of the growing fan speculation that their marriage was filled with unhappiness, she quickly took matters into her own hands. In an attempt to shut down the rumors, she posted a video of Justin filming her, trying to show a softer, more affectionate side of their relationship minus the drama. Funny enough, fans later zoomed in on her eyes and saw the sad truth. Justin was nowhere to be found in the camera, and it was just her pretending like they were sharing a cute moment together. This prompted others to question why she even says she's with him in the first place. Why doesn't she just go be with someone who loves her the way she wants to be loved? She's so obsessed with being someone else, recreating these moments from his past, and it's sad. And after all these embarrassing moments, rumors began circulating that the marriage was less about love and more the result of a decade-long plan by Hailey Baldwin and her father to make her dream come true. Even Justin himself seemed to acknowledge the speculation, joking about it in an interview.
Looking back now, I'm like, it was definitely an arranged marriage. Like, they set this whole thing up.
It was obvious that Justin clearly hadn't recovered from his issues stemming from his relationship with Selena Gomez.
I was really upset. In my previous relationship, I went off and just went crazy and went wild, just was, being reckless. This time I took the time to like really build myself.
He was likely being completely honest with her, admitting he wasn't ready for such a serious commitment. But even so, Hailey pushed forward, insisting on making it work. In the end, she managed to secure not just the relationship, but his last name too. Crazy part was, whenever he hung around other people, she frequently called to ask them how he was doing.
She would reach out to people that were like, that we knew, right? You'd hear like, oh, he's doing so well. And she would be so pissed off because she's like, he's not doing well without me.
Being pissed off because your husband's enjoying time without you is wild, but that also sounds like normal marriage to me. I'm just kidding. But as time went on, you'd think their relationship would grow stronger, right? Especially after starting a family, having a baby, and building a life together. It should have been the perfect time for the two to mend their past issues. Well, not exactly. You see, fast forward to the first month of 2025, and instead of greeting the year with some positivity, Justin instead kicked it off with some pretty suspicious news that had fans raising eyebrows. Someone went on my account and unfollowed my wife. Shit getting sus out here. Blaming hackers for unfollowing your wife is crazy work, because if his account was truly compromised, I'm pretty sure the last thing they do is try and stir up drama by unfollowing his wife, and not do anything else. To make it worse, in May of 2025, he later came out with a controversial Instagram note that said, "Love you moms, but Mother's Day sucks ass." What made this post even crazier was that this was Hailey Bieber's first ever Mother's Day. So Justin and Hailey's relationship has had the media obsessed for years. However, in June of 2020, that attention changed dramatically and for the worse. You see, back in the summer of the pandemic, Justin Bieber found himself at the center of one of the most serious allegations he'd faced in his entire career. Out of nowhere, Justin was yet again at the center of a massive controversy when a Twitter user named Danielle posted an anonymous thread. In the tweets, she accused Justin Bieber of essaying her at the Four Seasons Hotel in Austin, Texas, almost 6 years ago. In her now deleted tweets, Danielle claimed that she attended a small event in Austin hosted by Bieber's manager, Scooter Braun. Everything was going great. They were there to see artists like Cody Simpson, Tori Kelly, The Wanted, and more. However, fans were in for a treat when Justin Bieber suddenly made a surprise performance at the event. And just like that, her night changed forever. In the tweets, she wrote, "My friends and I were enjoying ourselves the entire night. A man then approached me and my friends and asked us if we would like to wait after the show to meet Justin. Of course we said yes. But that wasn't all." You see, Danielle further alleged that after meeting Bieber, she and her friends were invited to the Four Seasons Hotel. However, once they got there, she encountered something weird, saying, "Fast forward to arriving at the hotel, Justin's friend brought my two friends to a room, and then he took me to another room. Justin had made me agree to not say anything to anyone, or I can get in serious legal trouble. He asked for my phone and to put it in charge. Unfortunately, that turned out to be a huge mistake. At first, they were just kissing. However, Justin allegedly wanted more. Based on Danielle's story, she started to feel anxious and scared right around the time JB's hands were creeping down, stating, "I kept asking myself, what about Selena? Did I consent to this? How will she react if she finds out? Where are my friends? How is this normal and okay?" Now, it's also important to consider the time this occurred. According to Danielle, this happened during Bieber's wild days, stating, "Keep in mind this was in 2014, around the time when he was quote-unquote out of control." Eventually, she was able to muster up the energy and tell him to stop, and she recalled saying that he was going too far and they should stop and find her friends. But what did Justin say? Well, he just told her to relax, they're all okay. Then he continued to, and I can't say much more because this is YouTube. The tweets went viral within hours, but unfortunately for Justin, the nightmare was not yet over. You see, not long after, a second woman named Cody came forward on Twitter as well, alleging that Bieber essayed her in a New York City hotel room in May of 2015. According to Cody, she was there to possibly meet and get a picture with Justin, just like any other believers would do. But while waiting, she was already approached by Justin's bodyguard, Mikey, who invited her later to join a party at the hotel. Initially, things were normal. She was socializing with other guests. However, things took a darker turn when Justin Bieber invited Cody to another room. According to her, Justin suddenly locked the door and started to assault her. But these are some serious allegations she was throwing against Justin, and if proven to be true, his career could collapse in an instant. So what did Justin Bieber have to say about all of this? Well, Justin didn't take long to respond. He couldn't wait to defend himself, writing, "Rumors are rumors, but essay is something I don't take lightly. I want to speak out right away, but out of respect to so many victims who deal with these issues daily, I want to make sure I gathered the facts before I made any statement." And just a day later, Bieber issued a lengthy threat of denial. In his tweets, he claimed that while he did perform in Austin on March 9th of 2014, he did not stay at the Four Seasons Hotel that night. To support his claim, he posted photos, screenshots, and email receipts that showed he was staying at an Airbnb with his then girlfriend Selena Gomez and later the Westin Hotel on the same night the assault allegedly took place. Luckily for Justin Bieber, he and his team were able to retrieve some evidence. But this evidence wasn't just brought up as threats to make the accusers withdraw their claims. You see, Justin wasn't messing around. Just days later, he filed a $20 million lawsuit against the two women, seeking $10 million from each. But even with the constant issues that surrounded his name, Justin was still popping, music-wise. That same year, Justin released his fifth studio album, Changes, and this was a big deal, as it was his comeback album after a 5-year hiatus since Purpose. So there were high expectations among fans, as they were eager to see how he had evolved, especially after his marriage to Hailey and battling health problems like Lyme disease. Unfortunately, despite debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200, Changes only sold 231,000 units in its first week, which was a significant drop from Purpose's 649,000 units. You see, by Bieber's standards, this was a huge disappointment and a troubling sign. However, his commercial success should have been his last priority at the moment. Justin suffered a serious health setback. You see, during the last few months of 2019, Justin had been spotted coming in and out of hospitals. In fact, he was even spotted with an IV in his arm back in September, which raised concerns about his health. So at the beginning of 2020, Justin Bieber took to Instagram to address the problems. According to Justin, while a lot of people kept saying Justin looks like shit on meth, etc., they failed to realize I've been recently diagnosed with Lyme disease. Not only that, but had a serious case of chronic mono, which affected my skin, brain function, energy, and overall health. For context, Lyme disease is a tick-borne illness that can cause a range of symptoms, including fatigue, joint pain, and neurological issues. Unfortunately, while believers were still processing Justin's battle with Lyme disease, another serious health scare surfaced 2 years later. You see, just a year after scoring his 8th #1 album on the Billboard 200 with his album Justice, back in June of 2022, Bieber faced another health issue. On Instagram, he announced he was diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that led to partial facial paralysis.
It's the nerve in my ear and my facial nerves and has caused my face to have paralysis. As you can see, this eye is not blinking.
However, his eyes weren't the only problem.
I can't smile on this side of my face. This nostril will not move. So there's full paralysis in this side of my face.
And with that kind of massive issue, it forced him to postpone several dates from his Justice World Tour.
So for those who are frustrated by my cancellations of the next shows, I'm just physically, obviously not capable of doing them.
Despite initial hopes for recovery, Bieber's condition worsened, ultimately leading to the cancellation of the remaining tour dates in early 2023.
I wish this wasn't the case, but obviously my body's telling me I gotta slow down. And I hope you guys understand, and I'll be using this time to just rest and relax. And
this wasn't the first time Justin had to hit pause. Back in 2017, he abruptly canceled the remaining dates of the Purpose World Tour, not because of illness, but due to mental health struggles. At the time, the official reason given was unforeseen circumstances, but Bieber later elaborated on his decision on Instagram. There, he wrote to his fans, "I want to be sustainable. I want my career to be sustainable, but I also want my mind, heart, and soul to be sustainable." However, while Bieber's main reason for the tour cancellation was his mental health, several controversies around that time added intricacy to the situation. You see, before canceling the tour, Bieber was already facing the China ban and other various incidents, including his fights with the paparazzi. These factors, combined with the pressures of a very tiring tour, likely contributed to the stress that led to his decision. Add to that the constant pressure faced by young adults in the industry, it was only a matter of time before Justin ran out of steam. Despite canceling his tour the year before due to mental health struggles, Justin Bieber returned with a new album for his fans titled Justice. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, his new album achieved major commercial success once again, debuting at #1 on the Billboard charts, while its single Peaches also topped the Billboard Hot 100 for a week straight after its release. In other words, Justin just proved to everyone that his reign at the top of pop music wasn't ending anytime soon. However, just a few hours after releasing his album, he was in hot water once again. You see, a Grammy-winning French EDM duo called Justice saw the cover and thought that the letter T was eerily similar to their own branding, according to them at least. For reference, here's a picture of their logo and Justin's Justice album cover side by side. Now, I know that the two don't look the least bit similar, however, here's what the EDM duo had to say about Justin. "Your use of the mark is illegal. You have not received permission from Justice to utilize the mark." So, was there any truth to their claims? Well, funny enough, as much of a reach as their accusation might seem, it turns out there was. According to them, Justin Bieber's team had tried to reach Justice's logo designer several months prior to discuss business. This, in particular, is seen by many people as proof that Justin Bieber outright stole the design. Justice, the duo, argued that
they trademarked Justice with a cross used for the T in France and the European Union. The band uses a T styled as a cross in its logo and has performed with a cross symbol on stage.
But 4 years after they filed their complaint, nothing came of it, as Justin kept using their logo font on his album cover to no legal repercussions whatsoever. So what do you think? Did Bieber and his team really steal the French duo's trademark here? Well, I'll leave that up to you. So their complaint never got anywhere, and it sure wasn't enough to deter Justin Bieber from reaching new heights with Justice. In the same year, it sold approximately 3 million copies worldwide, ranking it the 6th best-selling album globally. However, Justin's legal issues following Justice's release still weren't over. You see, there was one song on the album called Anyone, and to be fair, it wasn't that bad. In fact, it went double platinum and debuted at #2 on the charts. But while most fans were happily listening to the song, one man picked up on something different. Music YouTuber Rick Beato uploaded a video on February 25th, 2021, where he compared Anyone to a song released by Toto in 1998 called Going Home. The funny thing is, he had just interviewed a member of the band a week before uploading the video.
This just occurred to me recently. Last week I interviewed Steve Lukather from Toto, and as I was going through their catalog of songs, I went back and I listened to Toto 20 like you do to prepare for an interview. And I listened to it and I realized that that's exactly like the Justin Bieber song.
Now, I'm not going to play the two songs side by side together for obvious reasons, copyright, so I'll just let Rick explain how uncanny the similarities are between the two songs.
So this occurred to me that, well, let's see how similar these are. And then I looked and I said, okay, well, they're both in the same key. They both have the same melody.
He later added that the coincidence of the two songs sharing the same exact melody was far too suspicious.
What are the chances that you have a melody that has exactly the same rhythm to the words?
But if you think stealing melodies is bad, wait till you hear about the other controversies he had in store for that year. See, on August 4th of 2021, Justin expressed support for country artist Morgan Wallen by uploading a screenshot of his album with the caption, "Love this album," on Instagram. And showing support to other artists that you enjoy listening to shouldn't be a crime, right? Well, in this case, it was.
It showed Wallen and a group of his friends coming home after a night out on the town in Nashville.
I need to cut that video then and there, but spoiler alert, he says a pretty racist remark more than twice. So yeah, Justin posting his music on social media for everyone to see carried negative backlash. After all, in the eyes of many, he was voicing support to someone who was caught yelling the N-word on camera a few weeks ago. And it wasn't a good look for him, to say the least, especially if you've been paying attention to this whole video. So as a result, Justin deleted the story and quickly apologized, writing, "I had no idea that guy's music I posted recently was found saying racist comments. I had no idea. I sincerely apologize to anyone I offended." However, that wasn't enough to slow his momentum down either, because as controversial as he was that year, he still brought home all the sought after accolades.
You know, I really do believe the best is yet to come, so I want to say thank you guys so much.
And guess what? Bieber's controversies still weren't over. You see, during the great rap beef of 2024 between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, there were a lot of names thrown into the ring. Fans speculated whether their favorite artists would still want to work with Drake after everything that happened. But one of the most surprising names in the conversation was Justin Bieber. While Justin has always maintained a quite neutral relationship with Drake, his fellow Canadian, fans couldn't help but wonder if he was on Kendrick's side after he ignored this comment left by Drake on his Instagram, begging for a Nokia feature after Justin said to DM him if artists wanted to make music together. See, despite the comment racking up almost 50,000 likes by the time of recording this, he still ignored Drake. And to make it worse, a couple of days later, he was seen dancing to NLU on Coachella. And to make it even worse, he later made an appearance on the Grand National Tour alongside SZA to perform their hit song Snooze on stage. Although that moment deserves to have its own segment due to certain implications, so sit tight because we'll get to that later. But in the eyes of Drake fans all over the world, it was clear which side Justin Bieber was on, and it wasn't beside his fellow Canadian artists. And just to make it clearer, he uploaded this photo of an owl on Instagram accompanied with the song I Hate You by none other than SZA. But funny enough, Drake isn't the only Canadian icon that Justin beefed with. Back in 2016, he also butted heads with none other than The Weeknd. As I mentioned earlier, once Selena had one of their many breakups, The Weeknd swooped in and made a move for Selena's heart. Justin felt bitter about The Weeknd's decision to get with Selena, even though the two had already broken up. As such, whenever he had the opportunity to sub The Weeknd, he was always down to do it.
Weeknd song? If
Hell
it comes
no,
on,
I can't listen to a Weeknd song.
You can't? Why not?
That's whack.
Is it?
And back then, The Weeknd just brushed it off. After all, his stocks were at an all-time high, and he was content with keeping Justin mad. But as you know, whenever Justin Bieber beefs with someone, he goes all the way. Here's a video of him making fun of Starboy.
Favorite song at the moment? Starboy by The Weeknd.
So not only did he belittle The Weeknd's achievements, JB also made fun of his song, meaning The Weeknd had no choice but to clap back. And he did exactly that in February of 2017 on a Nav feature in Some Way, singing, I think your girl, fell in love with me. She said my fuck and my tongue game a remedy. He was obviously taunting Justin while implying that he couldn't satisfy Selena. However, while The Weeknd was winning the beef in the eyes of the public, it was only a short-lived victory, because once it was their turn to call their relationship quits, Justin wasted no time and immediately got back together with Selena. And we all know what happened next, right? But anyways, Justin's rocky history with other artists like The Weeknd might have kept his buzz in the industry, but in 2025, it wasn't beef that had the internet shook, because at what was supposed to be a surprise performance with SZA had things going left very fast. Just recently, on May 23rd, 2025, Justin Bieber made an unexpected appearance during SZA's show in Los Angeles. A lot of fans were psyched, especially since this was Justin's first return to the stage after his recent health problems. But on what should have been a celebration of his comeback, things took a weirder turn when during the performance, SZA gently touched Bieber's chin, and he responded by kissing her hand multiple times. So what was really going on? Were Justin and his wife having a rough patch? After all, the couple was just recently involved in another issue. You see, just days before the performance, Justin had been getting a lot of heat for his backhanded congratulation post after Hailey Bieber made the cover of Vogue's summer issue. In Justin's post, he wrote, "Yo, this reminds me when Hailey and I got into a huge fight. I told the Hales that she'll never be on the cover of Vogue." Already off to a bad start. But still, he continued, stating, "Yikes, I know. So mean. For some reason, because I felt so disrespected, I thought I gotta get even. So baby, you already know, but forgive me for saying you wouldn't get a cover on Vogue, cause clearly I was sadly mistaken." But even though he asked for forgiveness, a lot of fans were really not on board with his behavior. Why on earth would he publicly rehash/admit this? While another one commented, he could have just let her have the moment instead of having the headlines now be about this. And they weren't wrong. See, many fans felt that instead of giving Hailey the spotlight, he decided to make it all about himself. And did you notice that he said sadly mistaken? But was that really the issue? Was kissing SZA his way of getting back? Well, not exactly. In fact, despite the controversial performance, Hailey Bieber showed public support for her husband. She attended the concert and even shared moments from the performance on her Instagram stories, referring to Justin and SZA as her two favorite artists. But even though their intimate performance caused many fans to raise eyebrows, that wasn't the most concerning part. You see, during the verse, many fans noticed Justin Bieber appeared to be disconnected, erratic, and not fully himself throughout the night, with sources indicating that Justin had been drinking and smoking before going on stage. Now, social media buzzed with speculation and concern over Justin's overall state. You see, while some believe that Justin was just vibing to the music when he closed his eyes and stopped singing, most fans believe that he was totally out of it. For instance, one fan noted, "I'm an ex-junkie and he is completely in it in this moment. SZA is cupping his face to bring him out of it and back into the reality of the performance." You see, when you analyze the video, many fans believe that SZA and Justin Bieber weren't having an intimate moment. Instead, one user stated, SZA looked like she was trying to bring him back into his body. It didn't read as anything more in my opinion. Hailey doesn't need to worry about another woman regardless because she already lost him to addiction. Add to that this video that Justin himself posted on Instagram months before, where he was rapping about flying high.
High like a fly guy. I fly high like a magpie. I go high like I'm that guy.
Things weren't exactly looking great. However, it's hardly the first time his name has been tied to substance abuse. In fact, Justin's complicated relationship with drugs has been following him for years. According to Justin, it all started innocently enough, with just funny grass.
First time I smoked weed was in my backyard here. Got super stoned, and then I realized I liked weed a lot. That's when my desire to smoke started, and then I started smoking weed for a while.
Unfortunately, even though it wasn't as hard as other substances, Justin claimed that he started to get really dependent on it, which helped him realize that he had to stop. But as the pressure of fame mounted, so did his habits. And when the effects of grass weren't enough anymore, he eventually tried other substances, like purple drank.
There was a time where I was sipping, I was popping pills, I was doing everything.
For those unfamiliar, purple drank is a mix of codeine, promethazine, cough syrup, and soda, sometimes with candy added for flavor. And it's not just some party drink, it's a serious addictive substance with deadly consequences. However, even with the effects, Justin continued to smoke away because according to him,
it was just an escape for me. I was just young, like everybody in the industry and people in the world who experiment and do, just normal growing up things.
Unfortunately, he wasn't exactly a normal kid growing up.
But my experience was in front of cameras, and I had a different level of exposure and people, and I had a lot of money and a lot of things. So then you have all these people around me just kind of hanging on, wanting stuff from me.
You see, back in 2013 and 2014, Justin's image started to shift. He wasn't the innocent kid from Baby anymore. Instead, he had stepped into his rebellious phase, getting tatted up and spending his nights racing Lambos. In other words, he was in his bad boy era. Unfortunately, during this time, he also began hanging out with rappers like Lil Wayne. And hanging around Weezy wasn't the best idea since he had also publicly admitted to his own struggles with lean. It didn't take long before people around Justin began to notice that things weren't okay.
Was there anything that really concerned me? Yeah, I think maybe the lean when he was drinking that. Can I say that?
Sadly, it reached a point where Justin was tweaking out in public.
Aww.
However, around that time, purple drank was very accessible to the masses. But what these artists didn't know was that things were about to change dramatically. Now, one of the wildest parts of the situation came in April of 2024. You see, at the height of purple drank's popularity in hip-hop, Justin was frequently seen sipping in public. But that's not all. In fact, Drank had taken over him so bad that he'd even sing about it in songs like We Were Born for This, where he sang, "But the boys and girls, they don't know what love is like appreciation mixed in a double cup of Sprite." All of this might have been bad timing for Justin, but as soon as he got caught up with Drank, the pharmaceutical company activists made a shocking announcement. According to the company, they were pulling their highly popular codeine promethazine cough syrup off the market due to the widespread recreational abuse. While Justin was never mentioned directly, many people in the industry had their own theories, and one of them was the rapper 2 Chainz. 2 Chainz, who had his own history with Drank, claimed that Justin Bieber was the one to blame.
Like once, Justin Bieber and a few other artists of high caliber started getting caught with this kind of drink.
You see, during that time, Justin was at his peak, and according to 2 Chainz, all the attention Bieber was bringing to Drank might have actually been the reason why he got banned in the first place. But whether it was fair or not, Bieber's name was connected to one of the largest terminations of recreational drug abuse in the music world since the early 2000s. And 2 Chainz wasn't the only artist who confirmed the theory. You see, even one of Justin's past collaborators, Sean Kingston, said this.
Damn, Bieber, you messed up activist.
Right.
I love you.
So you're on board with that theory that he's the one who got it banned?
I think so.
Oh my God. It's official now.
And to make the accusations heavier, Sean even claimed that Bieber was the one who introduced him to Drank.
Did Bieber get you into lean, or did you get Bieber into lean?
I don't even know. I don't even know how he got into it.
Whatever the case though, Justin's addiction wasn't just some brief rebellious phase. This was a much darker and difficult time that affected him for years to come. Fortunately though, Justin was able to get clean, but it sure wasn't easy. In fact, in his 2020 YouTube docuseries, Seasons, he claimed that the wake-up call happened because the substance abuse got so bad that it felt like he was dying.
My pulse, people don't know how serious it got. It was legit crazy scary. I was waking up in the morning and the first thing I was doing is popping pills and smoking a blunt and starting my day. You know, so it just got scary.
And at that point, he decided to get some help.
I basically said to myself, I'm like, God, if you're real, you get me through this season of stopping these pills and stuff, and if you do, I'll do the rest of the work.
And went to the doctor.
The nurse is gonna put in an IV, and it's called NAD. And basically what it does is it's gonna flush out some of the toxins. I've abused my body in the past, and now I'm just in recovery process.
He even has an oxygen chamber that he sleeps in that helps his brain get more oxygen to decrease stress. Unfortunately, escaping addiction isn't as easy as it sounds.
I never did the actual work. I got off the pills, but I never went to the root of everything. So then I just kind of circle back around, which most people do.
Especially since Justin Bieber has been doing it for years. So when fans saw him spacing out on stage with SZA, many of them thought he was relapsing. On top of that, Justin received a lot of criticism about his look when he was spotted in New York earlier in February. I mean, he did look kind of drowsy and with dark circles around his eyes, so it wasn't that crazy to think that he might be back on substances. However, Justin and his representative quickly denied the allegations, stating the rumors were exhausting and pitiful, and show that despite the obvious truth, people are committed to keeping negative, salacious, harmful narratives alive. He's not high on substances, but just on life. Unfortunately though, Justin's addiction was only part of a much darker story. You see, what people didn't know was that he was already fighting legal battles and contracts that were draining him even more. But how could that happen? At the peak of his career, Justin was the largest pop star on the planet, and there were claims that he earned about $500 million to $1 billion in his career. Unfortunately though, behind the scenes, financial troubles for Justin were mounting. So what exactly happened? Well, one of his largest problems was his marriage to Hailey Bieber. The couple allegedly wasn't exactly responsible in handling their finances. In fact, insiders claim both Justin and Hailey were notorious for their spending habits, and one of the most perfect examples of this was during the Justice Tour. There were reports that Justin had a massive jet for himself, but here's the problem. According to TMZ executive producer Harvey Levin,
and Hailey wanted the same type of jet, and the tour managers were saying, you guys are spending too much money, can she take a smaller jet?
And if you look at how much these private jets cost, it's no wonder Justin has financial problems.
Insistent on flying on only heavy jets, can't take a light regular jet. Justin and Hailey wanted to.
Justice Tour.
Yeah, on the Justice Tour.
Unfortunately, it looks like his problems weren't coming from his fans, but from the closest people around him. In fact, he even has problems with his ex-manager, Scooter Braun.
Biebs, are you thinking about dropping Scooter?
You see, at the very core, Bieber's income came from his music. However, there's been a long-running controversy over how much of his hits he actually wrote. According to his ex-manager's camp, Bieber didn't write most of his hits, and even though his name appears in the credits for many of his biggest songs, insiders claim that in most cases, he barely even contributed. But is Justin really to blame here? You see, this practice isn't really uncommon in the music industry. Luckily for Bieber, his rights remain tied to those songs because his team fought hard to secure those deals for him. According to Scooter Braun's people, Justin wouldn't have made millions off publishing deals if it weren't for Scooter getting him those publishing rights. So Justin put his complete trust in Scooter Braun, seeing him as a mentor and a father figure. Over time, however, Justin felt that he had been bamboozled. So what exactly happened? Well, to figure that out, let's take a look at their complicated relationship. When Scooter Braun first discovered Justin at the age of 13, their relationship quickly resembled a father-son duo. There were even clips of Scooter acting as a parental figure, including the time when Justin wanted a new toy.
It's really little.
Unfortunately, Justin might have looked at Scooter as his father figure back then, but now, in his head, Scooter was just showing love to him since his music was making him rich. However, the breaking point didn't come until Justin's Justice Tour. Remember the Justice Tour that Bieber had to pull out of because of his Ramsay Hunt syndrome? It turns out his decision led him to suffer a massive debt. At that point, Justin had already completed 49 shows, but he decided to pull the plug and stop doing the remaining 81. You see, this tour's insurance should have covered the canceled shows, but why didn't they? Well, his insurance should have been the one that saved him from this debt, but unfortunately, according to insiders, Justin Bieber actually passed the physical exam arranged by his tour's insurance company, making him fit to continue the tour. And since Justin and his camp never pursued legal action against the insurance company, many people believe that Justin really did pass the physical and just decided to dip out. And during the collapse of this tour, it revealed the deeper issue in how Bieber's career had been managed. You see, according to his manager's team, Justin simply didn't want to tour anymore. He preferred to spend time with Hailey and live his life to the fullest. But on the other hand, Bieber's side claimed that he was set up to fail from the beginning. Justin was doing the most on this tour, performing massive shows every night, which eventually burned him out. Unfortunately, his complicated relationship with his team and the Justice Tour fallout would only get much worse. Financially, the tour's failure was catastrophic. Initially, Bieber had received a $40 million advance from AEG, the concert promoter. However, when he pulled out of the tour, AEG demanded $24 million back, and that was a huge problem since Bieber allegedly didn't have it. At this point, Scooter's company, Hybe, decided to step in and pay it off for Bieber. In return, Justin signed a note agreeing to pay Hybe back over a 10-year period. But after making just one payment, things took a dark turn. After the first payment, Bieber's camp apparently called Scooter's company bearing the bad news, stating that Justin didn't have the money to pay them back. However, this wasn't just the cash issue. You see, right after that, Justin's business manager at the time, Lou Taylor, decided to dig up some old files, and what she discovered was shocking. According to Taylor, Scooter had allegedly stolen commissions over the years, which is why Justin felt betrayed.
Justin said, "You screwed me. You took way too much in commissions."
From his perspective, he wasn't just broke, he felt like he had been exploited. So what does his ex-team have to say about this? Well, in response, Scooter Braun ordered an internal audit throughout his own company, and the results favored his side. According to the internal audit from Hybe, Scooter didn't owe Justin any money, but in fact it was the other way around, with Justin owing Scooter $1 million. Of course, Bieber's team certainly didn't buy it. So what did his ex-manager do next? To settle the dispute, they hired another company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the world's most respected independent accounting firms. PwC spent 6 months looking through Justin's financial records, contracts, commissions, and past payments. But when the results came back, everyone was shocked, including Bieber. You see, the audit became a massive nightmare for Justin, as it revealed that he didn't just owe Scooter $1 million. In fact, he owed over $8 million. Once these numbers came in, Bieber's team was, of course, far from happy. So to counter, they quietly conducted their own audit. But when reporters reached out for results, they suspiciously refused to disclose them. On top of that, Bieber's camp didn't even directly dispute the $8 million figure. It was definitely a bad look. Adding insult to injury, insiders noted that if Justin Bieber had simply finished the tour, he would have earned a staggering $90 million. And with that kind of money, it would have been enough to pay back AEG, settle outstanding debts, and still walk away with a fortune.
When you're rolling in dough, all of this doesn't matter that much. When you're broke and you want to start blaming people, that's when it matters.
Unfortunately for Justin, he wasn't just experiencing a slight hiccup. According to reports, he was on the verge of financial collapse way back in 2022.
He was so broke in 2022 that he had to borrow Will Bracey, who's a member of the church.
His COO.
His COO. He had to borrow Will's credit card so he could go play golf. That's how broke he was. He could not afford a round of golf.
And this ultimately forced him to do the unthinkable. By the end of 2022, Justin made a move that left the industry scratching their heads in disbelief. As I talked about earlier, Justin's main source of money was his music, right?
Justin Bieber just sold his music catalog for an estimated measly $200 million.
You see, at just 28 years old, Justin sold his entire music catalog for millions. According to insiders, Justin's lawyer and Hailey approached Scooter about selling the catalog, and while Scooter initially refused, he then reluctantly agreed, advising Justin to hold off until January to take advantage of a tax break. Unfortunately, Justin was so broke that he didn't even have time to wait one more month. In fairness, Justin was a child when he entered fame's orbit, at just 13, and he had no concept of financial responsibility. And while Justin seems to place the blame on his former team, they're not really in the wrong. However, many people began to wonder, was there someone behind the scenes in Justin's ear? You see, many fans believe that someone was controlling and whispering bad advice to Justin over the years. But who was it? Over the course of his career, Justin had been drawn to authoritative men. First, it was his manager, then it was Carl Lentz, a pastor at Hillsong Church, who Justin also publicly credited for helping him through his rough days. But after Lentz was exposed in a massive cheating scandal, another fatherly figure quietly stepped into Bieber's life, and it was none other than Judah Smith. Unfortunately, this is when things took a much darker turn.
Thank you, Justin, for the opportunity.
You see, Judah Smith was different. He wasn't just a pastor.
He has a ton of influence over Justin. Some people are saying, like, he's actually controlling Justin.
And not just his personal life, his business life.
Isn't it kind of weird that a pastor secured a seat on the board of Bieber's new streetwear brand, Drew House? Unfortunately though, the clothing line quickly fell apart, together with Justin's relationship with his longtime friend and Drew House co-founder, Ryan Good. Ryan Good, who was also the best man in Justin's wedding, suddenly decided to cut ties with both Justin and the church after a series of increasingly invasive conversations about his personal life. Reportedly, Justin and Judah grilled Ryan about his dating and sex life, which he felt uncomfortable with. Keep in mind, this was his best friend in the church who were asking these types of questions, and with that, it marked a turning point.
And it really turned him off from the church, and we're told that he ended up
Judah,
leaving.
not Justin, to Judah.
Well, yeah, so him and Judah completely broke off.
And we're told this is when Ryan started to feel like church home was a cult.
Yeah.
Now, labeling something as a cult, especially a church, is a serious accusation.
Like, if we're a cult, we're the worst cult in histories of all cults. We meet once a month, guys.
But is there any truth to that? You see, the word cult isn't thrown around lightly. However, over the years, accusations began to surface about church homes' financial practices. For instance, former staff member Rachel Kellogg spoke out about this with TMZ, claiming,
"As staff member, it became very clear and apparent to me that one of the you have to do's was just, hey, you have to give money back to the church. 10% of your gross income, this is a non-negotiable."
And Judah himself would confirm this.
To not tithe off of a paycheck that comes from a tithe doesn't work for me. I'm just gonna be real clear. It just doesn't work for me. You are not as invested as you think you are if there's not a money trail.
And unfortunately, there were no exceptions.
And I'd be like, hey, I really can't afford it. If you want me living on a street, I can give you 10% of my income, but I can't do that.
But that's not all. You see, Rachel even claimed that if members didn't fall in line, they were threatened with termination and in several cases, actually fired. And surprisingly, Judah once again would confirm this.
I'll be very honest, people have already been transitioned and moved on and fired because they were not tithing.
Unfortunately though, this wasn't exactly what happened with Rachel.
And then in February of 2023, I got a final ultimatum that was like, hey, if you're not giving 10% in 4 weeks, you're gonna be fired. And so at that point, we decided to file a class action lawsuit.
And even though the lawsuit was ultimately dismissed, with people like Rachel, it only fueled fire that the church home, a church where Justin is associated with, is looking more and more like a cult.
Yep, absolutely. I think church home is a cult, absolutely.
And with that kind of accusation towards the church, people close to Justin Bieber began to worry that this wasn't just about faith, it was about money and control. You see, inside of Judah's church, the message wasn't just about salvation, it was also about giving and giving big.
And getting up and going to work and getting a paycheck and being a nice person, there must be more.
According to Rachel, Judah speaks about wealthy individuals like Justin, who donate large sums of money to the church, labeling them as generosities and explaining how Jesus will acknowledge those who give back.
If you'd like to join us in this generous journey, you can click on the giving hands on the app. They look kind of like this. All right, that's not necessary, but you can click on the giving hands and you can participate in giving.
Unfortunately, Ryan and Rachel were among the few people who got caught up in this church's mess. You see, during Scooter Braun and Justin Bieber's fallout, it was reported that Judah Smith and Justin Bieber began confronting Scooter about his faith.
We're told Judah and Justin were going to Scooter saying, why don't you love Jesus? And Scooter's Jewish,
right.
And was really pushing this, excoriating Scooter for not believing in Jesus.
However, the confrontation didn't end there. In fact, the tension escalated even further during what was supposed to be a business meeting.
What we're told by an eyewitness is Justin goes into the meeting and says, you me over, me over, and just keeps repeating it. And Scooter's like, what are you talking about?
Scooter was left confused and blindsided, and in the room with them, Lou Taylor. Lou Taylor, Justin's business manager, another member of Judah's church, and of course, Judah Smith. And with them being there, it's really not hard to connect the dots that someone was in Justin Bieber's ear. According to multiple eyewitnesses, Lou allegedly told Scooter,
I am also a woman of the cloth and the ministry. Justin can forgive you, but he can't move forward with a relationship with you.
And just like that, Scooter was out. At this point, Justin's world had shrunk dramatically. Almost everyone from his past was gone, Ryan Good, Scooter Braun, even business partners. The only consistent figures remaining were those associated with the church. Many fans found that suspicious. Now in his early 30s, Bieber's career is in a weird spot. When it comes to money, it looks like he and his wife are trying their best to come back from their financial crisis, with Hailey securing the bag with her billion-dollar deal with her company Rode. On the other hand, Justin is in Iceland trying to record new music. However, he's been gone for almost 4 years, and in the ever-changing environment of the music industry, a lot of critics are concerned about whether or not Justin Bieber can still top the charts. Fortunately, according to Forbes, there's still a huge possibility that Justin Bieber would top the charts.
There's still huge demand for his music. He's still one of the most streamed people every month on Spotify. So there's been this buildup, and people are really excited to hear whatever comes next.
Sadly though, this isn't really a guarantee. So can Justin Bieber still live up to the hype? I guess we'll have to wait and see when he drops.